So, good morning, everybody. Today is Saturday, the 1st of November, and we're here for the US Sangha call. And Dhammarato is currently taking a rest, but he might join us soon. So, Dhammarato and I had a discussion a couple days ago, and yeah, we thought it would be interesting to discuss it again because it was it was a quite interesting discussion. And basically, what we talked about was Sutta number 128 in the Majjhima Nikaya. And if you look in the chat here, then you will see that I've sent a link to it. And the name of the sutta is called the Kilesa Sutta. So most here will probably recognize the word Kilesa, defilement. And then Upa means um, like big or something like that, or major. So it's like the major defilements, the big defilements. So yeah, so the it's translated as imperfections. And basically, and I'll just grab the sutta here. Um, the sutta in the beginning talks about a couple of other things, and um, yeah, the Buddha is at Kausambi, and this was at a time when the bhikkhus they were kind of fighting and stabbing each other with verbal daggers, and this is also mentioned in other suttas. And yeah, we'll kind of go over that. But later on in the sutta, can hear some background noise from somebody. Let's see. So later on in the sutta, the Buddha asks, um, when you are like, have you achieved any superhuman state? So he's basically asking like, have you entered any jhanas or anything higher than that? And then the monks say, we can get the mind unified, but we cannot keep it there. So we are still figuring out what the causes are for that. And then the Buddha says that, when he was still a bodhisattva, when he was still not yet enlightened, he was also thinking that, oh, I can get my mind unified, but then I lose my unification of mind. So what is the cause for that? And if we look at the Anapanasati Sutta, then you will see that in the third tetrad, you have the first item is experiencing the mind. And then the second item would be gladdening the mind. And then the third item is unifying the mind. So basically, the sutta goes in the process, it's about the process of unifying the mind. So these go very well together. And he says that when he was still unawakened, he perceived radiance and vision of forms. So radiance, the Pali word for it is uposa, means something like vibrancy, or Dhammarato likes to use the word shimmering or radiance. So it's basically, sometimes you will see the depictions of the Buddha or of the monks, and then you will see like these golden rays, or lay practitioners also. You see the golden rays coming from their body, from like the outline of their body. So that is basically artist trying to depict what the Buddha is describing here. And so the Buddha thought that, oh, I have to make my vibrancy, my radiance, really boundless, so that it's like everywhere. And also vision of forms. And vision of forms, the Pali word is rupa. So this is talking about the body. So in the suttas, you will see many places that there's a lot of importance placed on the body. For example, in Majjhima Nikaya 119, the Buddha says that anyone who has developed full sati, human mind of the body, there's someone who can enter all the Dhamma, who has gotten all the insight that is possible to get from the practice. So what the Buddha tried was first he made his mind very radiant, which is, you can kind of see it as light. And that is basically, if you would do like absorption jhanas, is that radiance mind, but you also get it by playing with the breath and by bending the mind. So that these light is pretty much what we're talking about here. And Piti Sukha. So he really focused on developing that, and then you get it to a really high place. But he saw that he cannot keep it there. And then he was like, what if I fully develop the awareness of the body, like body awareness of the body? But then he noticed that when he fully developed that, he did not have that delight or radiance. So he felt like, oh, I can either have full radiance, full delight, but little awareness of the body, or I can have full awareness of the body, but little delight. And then he was like, okay, I will not focus too much on either one of them, and instead I will develop them both at the same time. But then I noticed that he had limited awareness of the body and limited delight or radiance in the mind. So yeah, so he started reflecting on that, like, what is the cause for this? Why do I? Why is my mind not unified enough so that I have both boundless full awareness of the body and boundless full radiance or delight? And then he goes on to describe various reasons. And so one of them is what Dhammarato talked about quite recently, is soft versus hard. So yeah, when your mind, has grown calm from the practice, calm from playing with the breath and gliding it over and over again, then it can still happen that you try to make something happen. You really want to get into jhana or something like that, or you really want to get rid of your hindrances, and you are striving. You start striving, and you become very tense on the inside, and because of that, you also lose the unification of mind that you have built up. And the Buddha describes it as grabbing a bird too tight and in that way killing it. Another way on the opposite side would be holding it too loosely, so being kind of sluggish in your effort, and then the bird flies out of your hand. So this we have talked about already in previous talks, and then it's also doubt arose in him and inattention. So yeah, not really being interested in what's going on, kind of half-heartedly gladdening the mind. And also inertia, which basically means that there's like the stopping of the movement of the mind, but not in a wholesome way. So I noticed in my own practice that when I, for example, focus too much on the body and I try to be really aware of it, then yeah, you kind of lose awareness of the mind and the mind becomes kind of inert. And when I focus too much on gladdening of the mind, then I can get the mind in a wholesome state, but I cannot keep it there for long because my mind will get tired. So, so the first item of the third tetrad, which is experiencing the mind, the Buddha asks us to reflect on whether our mind is unified or not. So the way you can practice this is that when you are practicing Anapanasati over and over and over again, and it's going quite well, then sometimes you will get into a situation where, yeah, there's just one kind of quality of the mind that keeps it from being unified, but you kind of, yeah, you're not really sure what it is. So the reason it's like an item in Anapanasati is that when we encounter such a thing, then we want to take a moment to really reflect, like what is the cause for it? And your mind already has to be quite unified to do this effectively, because in the beginning, our mind is so restless, has so much dukkha that it's going to be kind of all over the place. Like you have many different hindrances, and the mind has like many different unskillful qualities. But when the mind starts to get unified, then yeah, then usually there can be only like one unskillful quality left. And so then it can really help to kind of like stand still and reflect, like what is the cause for this? So yeah, so that is how the first item of the third tetrad, and then the third item of the third tetrad, which is unifying the mind, that's how those are connected. So the Buddha describes the way I interpret it. He describes as excessive perceptions of diversity. That's the translation. It's kind of a high pollutant kind of way of saying it. But yeah, it basically means that you are still, that you are really, getting along, really in the habit of gladdening the mind. And you're doing it effectively over and over again, but you're still like really in your mind. So what you do can then begin to do when you notice that you are, yeah, it has become really easy to gladden the mind, then you can start to pay more attention to the body. So in the beginning, we will start with, um, following the breath from the tip of the nose and down to the navel, and back up again. And we also have that proprioceptic awareness, so of the hands and of the feet. And that is really good. And then when we notice that, oh, the gladdening of the mind is starting to become really easy, then and our mind state starts to change as well. So in the beginning, we have to change the thoughts over and over again. And if we keep doing that, then our mind state will change that to that of a winner. And then we can kind of slow down a little bit and start relaxing and really start, um, focusing on growing a sense of ease in the practice, growing that sense of relaxation. And the way we can do that with the body is to start paying attention to the way the in-breath um, conditions the entire body. So not only feeling the breath, but also, you can feel the breath in many more places, pretty much in throughout the entire body, even in body parts that are not really related to it directly. For example, Ajahn Tanisro, he likes to give use the perception of being a sponge, kind of like SpongeBob. So SpongeBob, if you see it in the cartoon, he breathes through his skin. So without trying to visualize it, like we really want to be in the present moment, in our sensations, gathering data, but we can kind of imagine our body to be like a sponge. And then, on the inhalation, we are like an expanding sponge and we can really feel it throughout our entire body. And we do it in a very gentle way. We become aware. Um, and then on the out breath, we can also feel like, okay, where can I feel the out breath in the body? And in the first tetrad, in the third item, the Buddha talks about experiencing the whole body. So not just experiencing the whole body of the breath, but really experiencing the whole body. So what we can do is then, for example, on the in-breath, we just take like one good look at what's going on, in terms of the sensations in the entire body. And then on the out-breath, we do it in the entire body as well. And then you kind of settle into that, and then you will find that it starts to stick. Those sensations, they become clearer and clearer until eventually it becomes more of like a continuous stream of being aware of the entire body. And then because you are gathering so much data, um, this will really help you to stay very, very present, and it will make you feel very radiant. Like the delight will also increase a lot. So that is actually a very good way then to enter jhana. And this is not something you necessarily want to try too early, because if you try too early, then yeah, then your mind is not unified enough. And I'm still playing around with this myself, but that's my personal experience. And so, does anybody have some questions or comments so far? Anybody has any experience with this? Ivan, how about you?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
You said when you're gladdening the mind, and if you don't, if the mind is not paying attention to the body, you get tired. The mind gets tired really quickly. What do you mean by that?
I mean, more like kind of the realization I had was that even when I was living like very cleanly at Watsuamok, eating little, not using a phone, this and that, that there are certain times of the day that, gladdening the mind, your body is tired, your body is going to be strained, and then that is kind of the hindrance, is the body being tired. So it's not really coming from the mind. And so it's good to give your mind a rest. And the Buddha also talks about this in the Sutta, two kinds of thought, where he says, like, if I would have these wholesome thoughts for a day or for a night, for a whole day and a whole night, then I see no problem with that. But doing that, my body would get tired. And when the body is tired, then the mind is stressed. And when the mind is stressed, then it is far from unification. So what I found is that when you're really in the habit of gladdening the mind, then then actually it's kind of a good idea to every now and then start paying more attention to the body and and kind of relax the gladdening of the mind. Because when you are in that habit of gladdening the mind, then when you give yourself a break, um, and I'm not saying you completely stop, um, but one of the things the Buddha mentions in this sutta, in the Kilesa Sutta, is that he developed um, samadhi with um, no applied thought, but only with evaluation or sustained thought. So what he's basically saying is that, that he gives his mind a rest and that he only cleans out the dukkha that comes up. But other than that, he would rest his mind. And for example, how I played around with that is you can do that by becoming aware of the whole body. But if that is very tiresome, then you can also, be aware of the breath at the nose while at the same time watching your thoughts and investigating and cleaning the mind whenever any dukkha comes up. And what I actually found, to my surprise, was that my mind became really, really unified and very joyful, very comfortable when I did that, and it gained like a lot of energy. So, for example, I would do like my regular practice, and then I noticed the body became strained and tired, and then I would relax a little bit, with the breath at the nose, and not one pointed or anything like that, but just finding a way to really relax. And whatever unwholesome thoughts would come up, I would clean that out. And then that would give a lot of energy and a lot of joy and really, unify the mind. And then I would go back to gladdening the mind as normal. And, even the first night when I did that, I stayed up till like 3 in the morning because, I got so much more energy. So, so this takes some discernment. This takes some wisdom because it's very easy to think like to fool yourself in the sense that, oh, I don't want to do the practice. I don't really feel like doing that, or my mind is dull, like I'm just bored or I have low energy. So I'm just, gonna take it easy. But the Buddha says in another sutta that when the mind is dull or bored or anything like that, that is actually when you really want to put in like that right effort and the investigation to raise the mind. But also recognizing when the body is tired and and when the mind is tired and it can actually use a little break, it can actually really help to grow that sense of ease, to grow that unification, to make that very deep. So, so this is what I talked about with with Dhammarato, and yeah, he says like if your mind state if it's starting to stick a bit and you're starting to feel like a winner, then yeah, then that's a good time to experiment with that. And yeah, so when we do that, then and our unification of mind grows deeper and deeper and deeper, then both the body and that sense of delight will become clearer and it will grow and grow and grow until we kind of become like an antenna. Um, like that's what Dhammarato describes it, like where you're very sensitive to your environment, like you can really feel in a lot of detail, like when you're walking, when you're sweeping, um, you can feel like a lot of detail in the body, and that's gonna keep you really in the present moment. And when the Buddha describes the first jhana, he describes a bathman who has like bath powder and water, and he sprinkles the water on the bath powder, and he makes like a ball um, of soap, I guess, with the water pervading it throughout, but no water leaking out. So in the beginning, we have that sense of comfort, maybe in the center of the body, for example, through the breathing, or we feel that the breath is very comfortable. But in this way, we can grow that sense of calm and grow that delight so that it starts to spread throughout the whole body. Another example the Buddha gives is, suppose you have an empty pot that can be filled with water. Um, if that pot would be empty and Mara wants to put his filthy water in that pot, then he can dump the filthy water into the pot and it would go in very easily and it would fill up the pot. But when the pot is full with clean water, then when Mara tries to put in his filthy water, it's just going to spill over. So in that sense, the Buddha talks about that sense of joy becomes that sense of radiance, that sense of delight throughout the whole body, makes us so aware of what's going on, and it gives us like a shield against dukkha, basically. Like we still have to practice, but it makes it very easy to see what's going on. And another benefit of this is that whatever we are doing, it becomes very easy to do just that. So when we are walking, we are just walking. When we are sitting, we are just sitting. When we are eating, we are just eating, etc., like that. And the reason for that is that we really, get out of our heads and get into the body. So, yeah. So does anybody have any more questions or comments on that? Dhammarato, have I missed anything? So another thing we were talking about is that in Mahasi or in Ajahn Tong, a lot of these, traditions that practice only, Vipassana, is what they will do is they will note rising and falling of the abdomen. And then when they have noted that, then they go to sitting. So they scan the whole body, or they become aware of the whole body. And when they have come aware of when they are aware of the whole body, then they will start looking at various points in the body. So they will look, for example, the top of the head, the side of the head on both sides, then the shoulders or the neck, and then the middle of the back and the butt, the hips, the knees, the ankles, the toes. So in those traditions, they kind of go from place to place, and that's how they try to bring up the awareness of the body. So for me, yeah, it took me a while to realize like that. Yeah, I start cultivating this, and then when I start doing that, it immediately like improves my practice. But I also recognize that I try to, if I to really keep in mind and really focus on it, then it's going to lead to tightness in the mind. So we have to kind of go it in a gentle way, and kind of like the more we utilize our mind on the mind, then the more aware we can become of the body, and kind of grow that alongside of it. And I will just have a look at the sutta, what the other things were. So it's also kind of interesting is that the Buddha also mentions that he developed samadhi both with and without pity. So when our mind becomes unified, then the pity can make it very elated. Like that sense of success, it will feel like we are really getting something in the practice. And then we are like, oh, this is going so well. And and in the beginning it's very nice, but then after a while we can kind of become overstimulated. And when we are overstimulated, then we also lose our unification of mind. So the Buddha calls this elation, that because he became elated, that he then lost his unification of mind. So if you do start experiencing that pity, you want to reflect on that, like if it's still skillful or not. And for me, or what I think is that when it becomes too stimulating, when I notice that my mind is kind of becoming strained because of it, and it's really going into the future and the past, and it starts to become unskillful, then you can also use like the breath at the nose, and any dukkha that comes up, you clean it out of the mind. But other than that, you just observe how overly energized the mind is, and you don't respond to it, you kind of like let it die out. And this is also connected with the sutta, which has 5 ways to remove unwholesome thoughts, where the Buddha gives the simile: why run when I can walk? Why walk when I can stand still? Why stand still when I can sit down? And why lay down? Or why sit when I can lay down? So looking in this way, yeah, you can really start to control the pity, and then that will grow your sense of ease in the practice. That will grow your unification of mind. And when your mind is unified, you can just really focus like on enjoying the breath, and that can actually increase the the sukha. And so yeah, so these are um yeah, so this is how I've been practicing lately and what's been really helpful for me. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or comments, uh, feel free. And also, if there are any other questions you want to ask about the practice unrelated to these discussions, those are definitely welcome also.
Thanks, Phra Daniel. I don't know if it's so much a question, but maybe just from my own experience, the times when I've been able to get into deep samadhi was actually during walking meditation. I don't know if I'm not quite sure why, to be honest, why I'm able to in walking meditation as opposed to sitting. I just wondered, yeah, if you've got any comments or experience with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually noticed it really in the beginning of my practice as well. And I think the reason is that um, yeah, when we are doing walking practice, we tend to put like less strain on ourselves, less pressure than when we're doing sitting practice. And oftentimes for foreigners, we are more comfortable walking than while sitting. So yeah, a lot of people have like trouble sitting on the ground. I don't know if that's the case for you, or even if we use like a chair, then our posture can kind of be slumped, or we can be kind of hanging back in the chair. And yeah, so I found that walking is also usually the time when you kind of relax your efforts. Like people will really work hard at sitting practice, and then they're like, "Oh, this is too difficult," or "This is getting nowhere," and then they're like, "Oh, let's just relax and walk around for a bit," and then then they suddenly get into right effort, and that's when it really begins to click. So yeah, that's my experience with it. So what are your own thoughts about that?
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I've never thought about it. I often use it if my mind's been quite busy, like say I've been in the evenings if I've been working or there's a lot going on. I found walking meditation, you can kind of focusing on the movement of the body, the mind can settle quicker than just sitting.
That is also a good point, that we can be more aware of the body when we are walking. Yeah, I especially like to keep sounds and and the bottom of the feet. I like to really keep that in mind when I'm walking, and especially when you've had a busy day at work, then it can be really relaxing to walk because we carry around all that tension. And yeah, and then walking, we just slowly let go of the tension, and that is what can actually get us into samadhi then. So that's definitely true, yeah. And in general, I feel like, um, especially here in Thailand, especially here at Wat Suan Mokkh, like you will rarely see the monks doing walking meditation here. All they do is sit, sit, sit. And I think like walking meditation is really underrated. Ajahn Chah, for example, was really famous for doing a lot of walking meditation, even when he was already had been a monk for a long time. So he saw it as something very, very useful. So yeah, I would definitely not see it as like a side practice, and that you can only do it like, you know, while sitting. Like definitely walking is very good. I've actually got criticized here at What's a Moke for doing so much walking meditation. They were saying like, "Oh, all you do is walk all day. Like, you're not going anywhere." So, but it makes sense when you know where they are coming from, because they are really trying to get like one-pointed concentration, and for that, walking is much less useful than sitting meditation. So, Carwan, how's your practice going?
It is going very well. Yeah. Can you
Good.
hear me? Yeah.
I can hear you fine.
Happy to see you, man. Happy to see you.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Do you have any like formal practice that you do beside the things that you just? I mean, do you sometimes just go and sit for 1 hour and do those steps, or is it just like me? Because I don't have that. For me, it's just the moment I wake up until I sleep. That's my Dhamma practice. That's my Dhamma practice. And some moments I am out of it, just like normal. But every time I do remember to practice, I practice. And so from morning to evening, but not like a regular, okay, I'm going to sit and do something or go out and do something. Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, I don't really do any formal practice. By chance, I was at Deepava one a week ago, and so I joined the retreat there, like all the sitting practice, and then we have to sit for 45 minutes. And you know, after about 35 minutes, you know, the last 10 minutes, you know, my legs, you know, they really they really start to burn. And you can't really use a chair as a monk, you know, sitting in front of the lay people, because it would kind of be like unmonkly. I don't think the Thai people would appreciate that. So yeah, so that's when I do a bit of formal practice, I guess you could say that. But yeah, I really don't value like long periods of sitting. Although what is useful is that, you know, when pain comes up, when boredom comes up, you know, all those kind of things that you experience when you sit for a long time, then learning to work with that on a reasonable level is really, really beneficial. For example, at Deepa Bhavan, when kind of during those last 15 minutes of the practice, I was having like so much pain, you know, in the body, or so much. It was not that bad. But then I was really like, okay, you know, I'm not gonna move from here. So I have to find a way to get over this. And I know, like, okay, there I am in Dukkha. So there is something I'm not seeing. There is something that I'm missing. And you know, and then I started to practice, you know, how the forest ajahns in Thailand, like my Longtama Boa, like to practice, is, for example, they try to, or they practice, you know, in their mind, for example, separating the sensation in the body and the clinging, so that you see that they are two separate realities. And when you can see that they are two separate things, two separate dhammas, then yeah, then you realize like, oh, I'm doing this to myself. Like I only have to feel a sensation. Like I don't have to cling to it, you know. And when I investigated it like that, then wow, my mind like really calmed down and really let go of the clinging to these sensations. So I would say that, yeah, there's like the middle way. Like you don't want to, yeah, you don't want to push it, but you also don't want to give in like at the first sign of like discomfort, because learning to work gradually, learning to work with the discomfort in a happy way, that is how you can really train the mind. So yeah, that's how I do it. So let's see who else we got here. Red Dono, we never met before. Do you have any questions? Any comments?
I lost my question a long time ago. I don't know.
Ah, that's good. That's good. Destroy the questions.
Because I had half of the answer in my head. So what, can I have a more complete answer on this? Like, can I get a more high resolution answer? Like, do I have to? No, I just do the grade out of the Zen and just destroy it. I actually sent. If you want to look at the chat when it finishes, you can actually look. I sent a video, and I wonder if actually if that breathing flow relates to the video I sent.
I don't see any video. Is it in? So I will check it after the
Later.
call. And then
You can see it later.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Edward, what about you? Do you have any questions?
No questions. Just a comment that it's amazing how practical these few suttas, and after you've learned from Dhammarato, these are not long suttas. If you don't know anything about the practice or haven't studied from Dhammarato, then it's just like you said, very old terminology. That's kind of like reading the Bible. It's just whatever. But you're talking about applied thought, sustained thought, excited happiness, peacefulness, and then this idea about having the mind to work with and then the body to work with. These are tools that can be worked for quite a long time. Like a long time. Like you're a monk now, so you're working on them for a long time, but you don't need a long seminar to learn about these things. There's the body, there's the mind, glad in the mind, slowly start to work that body, and then what you're sharing today, which is this special idea that hey, you can kind of go back and forth and kind of massage that like over time. So not exactly a question, my own little summary in my mind about what I'm starting to take away from it. And I guess thank you.
Thank you. That's good. And yeah, I agree with it. Like if if you haven't had any Dhamma practice, or if I hadn't learned from Dhammarato, then these suttas can be quite difficult to interpret, because the translations are kind of strange. Like, for example, like vision of forms, like is a very very strange translation in my opinion. And then for that, ubosa, which is like the word for delight or radiance or whatever, they use translations also like illumination. And yeah, and then you can really be wondering like, oh, what's this about? Or excessive perceptions of diversity. So yeah, so actually in the beginning, when I first read this sutta, all the way at the beginning of my practice as a layman, then I really had no idea what it was talking about. But that is the beautiful thing about a lot of suttas is that they are very practical. Like the suttas are really full of practical tips. If you really look at them. And what I have found, as a monk and practicing over the last couple of years, is that a lot of these suttas, when you read them for the first time, it's very vague. You don't really know what it's about. And then 1 year later, you take a look at it again, and then you see it in a whole new level. And then a bit later, you start to get a bit deeper into the practice, and then you're like, oh, this is what that is about. So, for example, with the body, when I started to experience like that really vibrantly alive body, like that's when I immediately had to think about the Kilesa Sutta. And so that's how you kind of gradually go into it. So let's see who hasn't spoken yet. Alec, do you have any questions? Alec has no microphone.
By the way, if any mod, you can unmute him.
Or Aaron, do you have any questions?
I unfortunately just joined in here a couple of minutes ago. I wish I was here for the whole call.
Oh, okay,
But
no worries.
have one I could ask.
Mhm.
I'm curious about the what dukkha means.
Dukkha means dissatisfaction. So there's actually kind of different levels of dukkha that the Buddha describes in the suttas, and then one of them is the horror of birth, aging, illness, and death. And Bhikkhu Buddhadasa talks about this in his book, Mindfulness with Breathing, Manual for Serious Beginners. He said when you get to step of Nirodha, which is the third item of the last step, then you will quench dukkha, the satisfaction, in 4 ways. As first, you will quench the horror of birth, aging, illness, and death. So that's the first round of quenching, which you could associate with the Sangha. And then the second level of quenching is sorrow, lamentation, grief, anxiety, depression. So basically, like the really heavy stuff, the really heavy dukkha. And then on the third time, of quenching is associating with what you like, or not being able to associate with what you like, and associating with what you dislike. So you don't like a person, but you're around them, or you miss a person, for example. That would be examples. But then we are talking about a lighter form of dukkha. And then the last level of quenching, the last level of dukkha, if you were to say it like that, would be clinging to the 5 aggregates, clinging to the khandhas as being or mind. So basically, kind of like being a person, the conceit, the I am. That's what it's talking about.
Thank you.
Sure. So, Potato, do you have any questions or comments?
Just enjoying your instructions. Thank you very much.
Great.
I started with the not holding too tightly nor too lightly, which I think refers to right effort, applied more to the dimensional aspect of the consciousness or perceiving being. And then, yeah, a little bit with the breathing tips, but also when you're saying if the mind is not too unified, then it's not too convenient. Then I was pondering about, is my mind unified enough to be doing this right now? But it's
Yeah.
also with the balance, because in the end, it's like how I'm feeling right now. Am I feeling satisfied, or am I feeling, or is tension building up? And I think even though I may my practice may not be that advanced, I think everyone can benefit from a little bit of focusing on the breath once in a while when things are getting too in the head.
Definitely. And yeah, basically the breath, we want to develop that as often as possible, basically. But yeah, you raise a good question, is like, is my mind unified enough or not? So yeah, so we have to see the dukkha, in that question, also, like that we don't want to cling to that. And I did find that, of course, that this you will start clinging to this when you start reflecting on that, like, yeah, what is my mind like right now? Is there like any unskillful quality? And so in the beginning, it took a little bit of getting used to for me. But now that I've been, practicing that for a bit, then I've learned to like really recognize it quickly. And every time I notice that I'm, clinging to those kind of questions, then I reflect like, oh, this is not worth clinging to, so that I can put it down. And I think, the most important thing with this practice is that we have a playful attitude to it, so that instead of fixing a problem, it becomes more like, yeah, you can think like, oh, what would be really nice right now? Like, would it be really nice right now to become like really aware of the whole body, like the sensations of the in and out breath, like on the skin, breathing like a sponge, or would that not be pleasant right now? Um, so because if you see it as like something that you need to have in order to be happy, then you start clinging to it. But what I just keep reflecting on is like, oh, what would feel really nice right now? Like, would it feel really nice to start taking it a little bit easier on the gladdening of the mind? Like, for example, focusing a little bit of the breath at the nose while keeping the mind clean, it's gladdening, and allowing my mind to rest for a little bit. Sometimes that can give, really unify your mind and really make it really happy. But if I start to do that, and then I notice like, oh, my mind is becoming tired instead of brighter and more unified, then I realize like, oh, this is not the way to go right now. Let me find another way to play with it. For example, by making it really bright, and and then I go play with that. So I keep kind of like switching around with how I'm breathing, how I'm perceiving the breath, how much effort I'm putting into it, and how aware I am of the body. And yeah, I just keep reflecting like, oh, what would be really nice to do right now? And it takes playing around, but if you do that, then yeah, I find that overall it has really helped you to deepen my samadhi. So, Ivan, do you have any questions, comments?
Yeah. A quick question I want to ask is the word investigation. Like, the way I understand it through my experience is much better to investigate once the mind is in a bit of just enough wholesome state, like just enough sukha or joy juice,
Yeah.
because if not, I found that in my experience again it's very easy and very quickly go to many weird places. The mind creates a lot of stories that is not there. Yeah, basically the question is just, the word investigation. What do you think about that?
But there is a sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, and I can send that after the call. And basically, what it talks about is that before we develop applied and sustained thought, we want to have an unobsessed mind. So the Buddha says the first thing you develop is a mind that is not obsessed. Because when the mind is obsessed, then applied and sustained thought as you say, it's not very effective. So the way we can do that is to, with the deep, long in-breath and deep, long out-breath, is to just tell ourselves relax, and just as you relax, like watch what's going on. And actually, something that I've also been experimenting with is Budo, which is really often used in Thailand by basically all the traditions. And I found that this is actually very helpful, when the mind is obsessed. Just boo on the in-breath, do on the out-breath. And if you really focus on that boo and do, then that can really calm you down quite quickly. So I've been playing around with that. And also what you can do, for example, when the mind is impatient, is that you bring up that quality of patient endurance. And we're not really talking about patient endurance like I'm going to sit in dukkha, but it's more that patient endurance, you keep it in mind that whatever comes up in your mind, in your thoughts, as soon as it comes up, you remember to be patient in your making a change with it. Because if it has already come up and then you think like, oh, now I'm going to be patient with it, then it already has a lot of momentum, like when you're late with that. So Kanti is the Pali word, patient endurance, is then something that you want to have in mind immediately when you see the dukkha. And then that really allows you to relax. And I've been using this every now and then when it's relevant. And I find that when you practice it in this way, that you're immediately recollecting that, then it's very, very powerful in, in calming down like that restlessness. Because oftentimes the restlessness is just like, oh, there's that Kilesa again. Oh, I've dealt with it so many times, I don't want to deal with it. And that, gives really rise to that restlessness. So that would be my my recommendation for working with that.
Thank you.
Navid, do you have any questions, any comments?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. First of all, what is Phra? Are you like an arhat? I'm sorry to be so ignorant.
Oh, that yes, that is not something that we discuss whether layman or arahant or monk. I mean, monks. Well, I can tell you right now, I'm not an arahant. I can already tell you that. But even if I was, like, I would not be allowed to say that. And the same would be for any other of the paths. But
So what is Phra?
sorry.
Oh, so I
Oh,
was saying your name, Phra. Is that that's what
I
it
see, I
related
see.
to?
So Phra or Pra, as you pronounce it, means monk
Okay.
in Thai.
Oh,
I
I
think
see.
it's
I
a
see.
Thai word. I don't think it's Pali, but that's the meaning.
I see. So for me here in the US, I'm sorry to be so ignorant, but every time I read in the news about monks in, you know, Thailand, they're the ones
Hmm.
who are doing all those drug deals in the background and like doing all this illegal stuff. So I'm glad that you came here to show us that you have a different side to the monks in Thailand. But let me just say this, I came very late to Buddhism, but really I started as a child. I was attracted to it and my parents were totally fine with it, so it was great. But this version here finally that I'm delving into, I came through Dhammarato pretty much, and a few times in the beginning I asked him, is there any book you recommend and all that. He was like, no, 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 you just, mainly this gladdening the mind is what I get, and it's helped immensely. I mean, I just cannot even imagine, to the point where I can't say I as like I would say confidently as before, because I feel like this I thing is not even existent anymore. If you can make
Hmm.
this many changes to it, like what is this thing? But on the other hand, I see that you immediately started with, I think, was it the Majjhima Kaya? Is that how you say it?
Right. Majjhima Nikaya.
And would you recommend somebody like me to start there? I mean, since you brought up a book, which book would be good for me? Not to convince me that I should do Buddhism, but like, okay, what's the next step? Kind of.
So yeah, if you're gonna read anything, then I would definitely recommend the Majjhima Nikaya.
Okay.
And yeah, basically the Majjhima Nikaya is like the earliest text that we have, the earliest account of the Buddha's teaching. So it was formed right after the Buddha's death. All the monks came together to basically collect all the teachings, into one collection. So it's the one that we are the most sure of, is like the Buddha's teaching. Um, Even in the Majjhima Nikaya, there are some signs of tampering with it, some controversies. One of them would be that, for example, in the Buddha gave an example one time that when he would bite on his tongue, bite on his teeth, and press his tongue against the roof of his mouth to subdue his thoughts. And when he did that, it had a really negative effect on his mind because he became tired and it didn't help. So
Mm.
that is mentioned in one of the suttas that it was not helpful. But then in one of the other suttas, it's actually recommended as a way to remove unwholesome thoughts from the mind. So even that, there are some signs that it's not completely accurate, but probably for like at least 95% it's accurate. And all the practical tips, all the really useful stuff you're going to find in there. So yeah, I would recommend that. And I think in the Discord we have like a list of like essential suttas to study. So that would be good. And then there are a couple other small texts that are like really early, like the Udana and the Sutta Nipata. And then there is the Dhammapada, which is made a bit after the Buddha. So I don't think it's necessarily like entirely accurate or entirely the Buddha's words, but for many people that's like one of their favorite texts. And I personally I find that it's like full of gems. But yeah, you can have a look at the Discord and ask around, and people will show it to you for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So Ragdoll, I don't think I've heard from you.
Hello.
Or hello.
Uh,
Do you have
well,
any
learn
questions
some new
or
words.
comments?
Well, learn some new words like those that I didn't know before, because I'm still kind of learning English.
Mm-hmm.
Also, look, get somebody younger than me, because I don't want to be the youngest. Yeah. Yeah, but other than that, this community looks like a bunch of cuties and everybody. Just, I'm the youngest now. Probably. Hopefully
Thank
not.
you. Mikey, you're back.
We got power back.
You got the power back.
Yeah, all good.
So I think we're actually kind of at the end of the talk.
Sweet.
But
Great
do
timing.
you have any last comment? Take it away. Oh, I can say this now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Phra Daniel, for giving us the noble Buddha Dhamma today. Yeah, I missed a bit of it, but those first 20 minutes were splendid indeed. We'll have to listen back to this again. Speaking of which, if you're listening to this on YouTube, go ahead and leave a like, leave a comment, perhaps share this video, or come back and listen to it again. You can also find these talks on Spotify, iTunes, or your favorite podcasting platform. And please come join us here on Dhamma Friends. Yeah, this is a splendid community where we like to make friends with one another and just enjoy taking it easy, enjoy having a good time and being at peace with one another. So yeah, thank you, friends, for being here today. And just because some people might be leaving, that doesn't mean everybody's got to leave. Feel free to stay on, hang out, and keep chatting. Keep up that sati and keep talking about the noble Buddha Dhamma. Okay, thank you, friends.
Thank you, Mikey, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
So